All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Diet Diaries. I have no idea what number it is or what number this will be. I'm so excited. This episode has been a long time in the making. I'm here with a longtime client and someone who I just truly adore working with, Nicole Lynch. And I asked her to come on to the podcast because we've been working together for like a year and a half. And a little over a year ago, she started a GLP-1, Zepbound. And there's so much, so much noise, so much everything out there about these medications. And many of you who are listening are probably on them, or if you're not, you know someone who is on them. And I wanted to talk to and hear from Nicole and ask her to share her experience with you guys about what it has been like for a person who has been through what she has been through that led her to make this choice, and what it has been like for her to be on a GLP-1, to do it with coaching, and to hear from her where she is now, what's working, what's not working. Because I think that there's just nothing more valuable than hearing it straight from a person who has lived this. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do today. So here's Nicole.
Hello.
Hello. Um, okay, so I thought, well, actually, let me just do this. Nicole you are 42?
42.
42. Nicole's 42. She has a 4.5-year-old daughter. She
Mhm.
works full time. She runs her own business. She is part of a huge family. She has a very full and busy life. So I just feel like it's helpful to know a little bit about like just kind of some of those things, because some people are like, oh, well, you don't have this, you don't have that, right? None of us have the same 24 hours in a day, but Nicole has a very, very full and busy 24 hours. And she has 2 dogs, including a new puppy.
Yes.
Um, so, okay, what I thought we could start with is I wanted to see if you could share kind of just like a little bit of backstory about your struggle with weight, when it started, what that was like for you, and kind of get us up, kind of somewhat into like the present day of, where you've been the last, 4 or 5 years.
Sure. So for as long as I can remember, weight has been a struggle for me. I am 5'10". As a young girl, I would have teachers tell me, "Oh, you're not going to be the tallest forever." I just was always a big girl. I'm still the tallest, one of the tallest. And weight has always been a struggle for me. I was on I'd be watched with what I was eating as a young girl. When I'd see all of my friends in these skinny, tiny bodies, I would compare and be like, "Well, why am I not like that? Why am I built so differently? And why can't I lose the weight?" And I literally, it's for as long as I can remember, since I was a little girl. I look back, we have pictures and videos and stuff, and I look back and up until I think 3 or 4, I was quote unquote normal size.
Hmm.
And then as I just grew, I always had weight. I was chunky. I wasn't, what we'd call like fat. I was chunky.
Hmm.
Even through grade school, I would look at different stores to shop at. I just was always bigger.
Hmm.
In high school, you look back and you're like, oh, I wasn't so bad. But again, that mentality of I was the big girl. I was getting made fun of in grade school. I literally have been on, I, if there was a checklist, I've probably been on almost every single diet, way of eating, healthy this, low fat that. From Jenny Craig as a little girl, I was on it young, to LA Weight Loss, to Weight Watchers many times. I went away for 3 weeks to Canyon Ranch to try to get, the whole food, exercise, mindset, it hit everything. And I've succeeded in a lot of these, but the
Hmm.
problem is that I go right back. A lot of
Hmm.
the yo-yo dieting,
Hmm.
and I constantly found myself back to not being happy, comparing again. Why me? Why me? Why me?
Hmm.
There's the genetic part. Is that there's so many things.
Yeah.
So now, having had my daughter, I was at my biggest, and COVID and all that fun stuff, I was at my absolute biggest, and I was very overweight.
Mhm.
Um, so I kind of, having tried everything, I hear this, you know, this weight loss like miracle drug, quote unquote.
Mhm.
So of course I've tried everything. Why wouldn't I try this?
Right.
So that leads me to today.
This is your today. So when you and I first started working together, you were not on a
Yeah.
medication. We weren't even you had mentioned to me when you first started, you're like, "I tried one of the GLP-1s
Yes.
at some point previously." I think in maybe in like the past year
It was
before
a
that?
year or so before. It was
Prior to
not
that.
when it was like
It
the big
wasn't like
thing.
what it is
No.
today, right? So that would have been like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying it made me really sick. It was terrible. Like I couldn't tolerate it. And so much of the stuff that we started working on, right, was you were struggling with a lot of emotional eating
Mhm.
and eating past the point of fullness and this feeling of like just being out of control. Like
Yes.
either not being able to get full or getting full, but enjoying the food so much and wanting more. And you, I think such an important thing to mention is you love to eat. You
I
enjoy food. You take
do.
pleasure in food, as do I. And I think as do a lot of the people who are listening, right? Eating is a pleasure. We're the only I always talk about this. We're the only like species that eats for pleasure and not just to survive.
Yeah.
Um and when you I mean there are people out there who don't really care about eating, but I think that they're few and far between, right? So when you love to eat, it does like it becomes hard. Something tastes so good and it's like
Yes.
you want more even though your body doesn't need more and it starts to
Mhm.
not feel good in certain ways, it feels good in other ways, right? So there was a lot of that and it was totally like I have done everything.
Mhm.
And so we started working on some skills around starting to pay attention to what were some of those triggers for emotional eating?
Yeah.
What were you eating throughout the day? Starting to learn and pay attention to what would help me feel more full? What foods would maybe dial back some of those urges or some of those cravings? Um, and then even as we were working through that, things would kind of go well and then something would happen or there would be like a family weekend or something kind of out of routine.
Yes.
Um, and so I wanted to ask you about that first experience of the GLP-1, like why what about it worked or didn't work and what made you go back around to it the second time after it hadn't worked the first time?
So the first time I had seen, I won't, name where, but I had seen that it was not phentermine. It wasn't even called GLP-1, but it was a serum that you could do, and you take your own shots,
Mhm,
and it would really, help stop slow digestion.
mhm,
So when I found that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to tell anybody I'm going on it, because here we are, Cole's trying one more thing.
mhm,
Um, I kept it to myself. I did tell my husband.
mhm,
And I was, as you mentioned, I was so sick. I would throw up all the time, because at that point I did not have the mindset that I did when I did the GLP-1
mhm,
of, I wasn't versed in it. I
mhm,
also did not have a coach that I had those conversations of what I was thinking. I was eating the way I normally would
mhm,
and didn't understand. I just heard this could really make you lose weight. Let me try it. So I'm giving
mhm,
myself the injections with little knowledge.
mhm,
And I just continued to get sick and sick until it came to a point my husband was like, Nicole, like, this is not, and I wasn't really losing weight. If
mhm.
anything, I was gaining weight.
Okay.
Um, he was like, Nicole, this is like, you're miserable. Like, you shouldn't do this. So I was like, you know what? I need to come off of it. So I
Okay.
did. And, it's all the scare of, well, when you come off it, you're going to gain. Well, I had already was gaining. I wasn't
Yeah.
losing. So it was just a lose lose all around.
Yeah.
And I didn't have, like I said, the knowledge and talking and knowing what I knew going into it the second time,
Okay.
because it was just so new too.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah,
And I think there's a lot of people who've experienced that. I think there's people who obviously have side effects from the drugs that are out there, but then there's also all these compounded versions, and there's so
that
many
it was the
places
compounded.
where
Yes.
you can get these meds, not through your doctor, not
No.
through like the actual pharmaceutical companies that are making them. And you really don't know what's in them. Is it actually the dose that it says it is? Is it actually the
Hey,
drug that it says it is?
is it the dose I needed? And I didn't even talk. I
Yep.
literally messaged with a doctor
Hmm.
and or whatever somebody
Yeah. Somebody who said they were
this
a
and it
doctor.
shipped to my house. So it was not a good
Yeah.
experience.
And now you're under the care of an
An
endocrinologist.
endocrinologist.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we kind of like even dive in more to like what it's been like on the Zepbound, I was wondering if you could share almost like a day in the life of Nicole struggling with food. Like
Sure.
what that has felt like for you.
Um, food noise 24/7. I would literally wake up, what's for breakfast?
Mhm,
Then as, I'd go and into my office and start doing work, I'd be like, okay, well, what am I going to have for lunch? It was a big question.
mhm,
And the amount of time that I'd spend like, well, do I want to order from here? Like the excitement and time that this
mhm,
would take for me to do that. Then shortly after that, we'd send a text. My husband would text me or I'd text him, what are we going to do for dinner tonight?
mhm,
It was constant. And in between that, I would go have a snack. And towards that, I don't know if you remember that 3:30, 4 o'clock when I'd be like my head up from the nonstop work, I'd be like, oh, okay. And I would then raid the pantry
mhm,
and be like, and I would, if I had some popcorn, but then I needed something sweet, I'd have that. And then I'd feel sick.
mhm,
So the day was, yes, work, but I was constantly thinking about what's the next thing I'm going to be eating,
mhm,
even into the weekend. You mentioned, family get togethers. We do them
mhm,
all the time. And I don't know, the weekends were a whole other ball game. And it was like my free for all. So not only Monday through Friday was I thinking about food nonstop. On the
mhm,
weekend, I was indulging and, well, I can have this. This is my treat. Uh,
mhm.
my life was fully around what's my next meal.
I remember you talking so much about like during the week, even with that noise, you would try so hard to kind of like rein it in. And then by the time you got to the weekend, you were so exhausted from
Yes.
doing that that it was just, well, I need to reward myself for
Yep.
working so hard. And I also don't have the energy to keep doing that. Right. So, like, this double whammy, like rebound effect.
Yes.
Um, and then it's like also it's the social situation of being with your family. And this is what we do to spend time together. And yeah, food is a huge part of
Mhm.
get-togethers and being with family
Yes.
and all of this. Um, so when you talk about thinking about food, right, as someone who loves food, you said there was like an excitement of
Yes.
thinking about it. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about like, was it always like excitement? Was there also like negative feelings? Like what was sort of like the nature of the food noise for you?
It might go back to when I quote unquote couldn't eat, like when I was on those strict diets.
Mhm,
Um, I'm an adult, as we said, I'm 42. It's almost like I was like, well, I can do this. Nobody's going to tell me no.
mhm,
Like I can eat. And it was an excitement. Well, yeah, I can go have, if I wanted, say, a piece of pizza or three
mhm,
for lunch or dinner, I nobody's going to tell me no.
mhm,
You know, it was almost like it's because I can, and I love food and the
mhm,
taste, and it just made me feel good. So if I wasn't happy maybe in a certain area,
mhm,
or I as soon as I'd eat it, I'd feel the guilt. Um, because, well, now I just ate that. Did I really need that?
mhm,
Um, it kind of was like a vicious cycle that the food would make me feel good,
mhm.
and then I'd get so upset, like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Um, so
Like the instant gratification of wanting it and it feeling so good, and then as
yes,
soon as it's over, it's like, "Shit."
yeah.
Um,
And I'd be mad at myself, and then that would cause me to want to eat more because it
yep,
would make me feel
yep,
better in that instant gratification.
yep.
And it became a
You
vicious
get you
cycle.
get
I
trapped.
couldn't
Yeah,
stop it. Yeah.
yeah, you literally get trapped.
Yes.
So what has so you're on Zepbound.
Yes.
Um, what if you can recall back to a little over a year ago, I
Yeah,
think,
it was
right around
September
now?
I started,
Yeah.
2024.
What was it like when you first started?
I was so nervous. I didn't tell anybody. I was worried to tell you,
Mhm,
because there was, even a year ago, I feel like an earlier starter on this.
mhm,
I was so scared of the perception, like, am I a failure because I'm having medication
mhm.
do this?
Yep.
Um, I was scared, and I previously, from trying that compounded whatever it was, I didn't want to get sick. I was
Mhm.
so worried. When I first started, I didn't tell anybody, except for my immediate group
Yep.
family. And I remember, like, because you heard of all the side effects and everything, I was so scared. Is this gonna happen again?
Yeah.
So those first few weeks, I was very nauseous, and we can go through what it did to my brain and my thought process.
Mhm.
It was a adjustment for me because of that past experience. I didn't want to fail again.
Yeah.
Because you'd seen these, Ozempic and all these things happening, where it's working for people. I was so scared it wasn't going to work for me.
Yes. Right, because it's like now my dog's hearing your dog
Yeah.
bark. Um, because you had done all these things in the past, and they had worked up until a point until you couldn't sustain it, and then it couldn't work, and it's like, "Well, what if this is the same?" Right?
Uh-huh.
Because that's all your brain knows. That's the lived experience you had had.
Yep.
So you started to kind of mention it, like, what did you start to notice in those first, like, few weeks of taking it that like, in terms of how you felt inside in your body?
So the first few weeks, I remember I was very nauseous. I couldn't believe that something that ran my day to day, the
Mhm.
food noise, was literally
Gone.
non-existent.
Yeah.
It was not there, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, I don't care if I won't eat a snack. I don't even need to eat breakfast. Like, that's how it made me feel.
Mhm.
I just couldn't believe. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what a change. This is great."
Yeah.
I literally, where I would put a portion on my dinner plate and be like, well, I'd make big portions on it.
Mhm.
I cut that back even because I didn't care. It wasn't like I'm missing out. I feel like, even I to jump ahead, at like events and parties and stuff, I'd want to get to the food to make sure I got, what I wanted.
Wanted. Yeah.
It didn't even phase me
Yeah.
to go. I'd be like, "I'll get there." And I'd have a little bit and I'd be fine. The mind part of it is like such for me, it was
Yeah.
such a huge, huge thing.
Yeah.
I'd we'd be sitting at our dining room table eating, and I countless times can remember looking at my plate and being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not even close to finishing it. I need to finish it." A few times I did try to finish it, and these were smaller portions. I would put smaller portions on my plate.
Mhm.
I'd finish it and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sick."
Mhm.
I have not gotten sick like previously on the other one, but I felt horrible,
Mhm.
and the indigestion and laying down to go to bed. I had countless nights where I was so nauseous. But then I eventually learned, it was a learning process. Like,
Yeah.
I had to, like, almost like train my brain to be like, no, no, or the brain part of me that's like, you need to finish what's on your plate.
Mhm.
And like, oh, I want to. I physically couldn't. You
Yes.
physically had to stop eating.
Yes.
Um, so that was one of the biggest hurdles,
Yeah.
because I
I
like
think
to eat. And
you
if it
like to
tastes
eat.
good and it tastes good, I'm like, "But I
Yeah.
want more." But no, I didn't want more. I thought I wanted more, but I did not.
Yeah. So it's like that. I so appreciate you sharing that because it immediately turned down the food noise, right? So you're
Yes.
thinking about food less. You're not like obsessing over it in the same way. It's not like consuming your thoughts from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. And yet still when food's in front of you,
Yeah.
there was still a desire to eat more than your body. There was a disconnect between what your body could tolerate
Mhm.
and what your mind wanted, which was the case in all those years prior to that, right? And that work was still there. You still had to learn that. I think that's
Yes.
so interesting and so helpful. Again, because I think there's this perception that like you take the shot and it's just like rainbows and unicorns
Yeah,
explode from the sky. And
definitely
it's
not.
just like
A miracle drug.
it's a miracle drug, right? And that's why I would like part of the reason why I wanted to hear, I mean, I know your experience, but I wanted
Yes.
you to be able to share it so that people really get it. Like there's still work to be done.
Oh, yes. It is not it's still I'm still on the journey. It is
Yeah,
not an easy road by any means.
yeah,
There are some perks to it from other
totally.
diets or starvation diets, I like to call it, that
Uh-huh.
I did in the past. I It sticks in my head so much that on one of my birthdays, I was on this quote unquote started. I call it the starvation diet. It was 400 or 500 calories a day, um, literally barely eating.
Mhm.
And it was my birthday. Now, if anybody knows me, they know I love celebrating my birthday. Like I will plan it 2 months in advance. It was a thing. Nicole and her birthday. So it was my birthday. All my friends are there, and I was not drinking. I was getting seltzer waters, and I was like, "Ooh, I can have an orange today, orange slices." And my friends were like, "Nicole, like you're getting excited because you can have an orange slice. Like there's something really wrong with this."
Yeah.
And I look back to that versus now. I lost 60 pounds with that.
Mhm.
I am at 59 today, and I am not I'm eating what I want.
Yeah.
Like, did I have half a bagel for breakfast this morning? I did, and I
Mhm.
looked at the other half. I would have polished that off in the past like that.
Yeah.
I sat and I looked at it, I'm like, "Yep, I'm good," and I went and threw it away.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't need it,
Yeah.
and that to me is such, like, a huge win because I'm like, I'm living life now.
Yeah.
Yes, I was living, but I wasn't happy. I was stressed, starving, not going out with friends because I didn't want to not drink, or
Mhm.
I lost out on so many things.
Yes.
I it's changed my life in many ways.
It's amazing. Like I just it's like so cool to be able to look at that and say, "Yeah, I had this half a bagel, I'm done, I'm good, like,
Mhm.
I don't need this," right? And
Yes.
it's it's also taken you, like, work to be able to do that,
Yes.
right? Like, with a year ago, it would have been like, "I really want the other half of the bagel.
And I
Maybe I'll
want to
try it,
eat
and I'll
more.
have it, and I'll feel overly full." Right now, because you've put in so many of those reps, it's
Yes.
so much easier to do that now, to say, "Yep, I'm good." Right? Because that's what happens, like, you practice a skill, and it gets easier and easier to do over time, and now it just takes up, like, almost no energy at all to make that choice.
And I will say, in the beginning of the shot, I was, your body's, this is a big adjustment that it's going through.
Mhm,
And I ate a lot of, I was eating a lot of carbs because
mhm,
that's the only thing that was appetizing to me.
mhm,
Now, as I've worked on the journey and gone through the process, I said to you, I think the other week, I just took my shot yesterday, hence why I wanted a bagel today.
mhm,
But I so many times I'm like, I want protein, and
mhm,
I then use what we had talked about
mhm.
in in the beginning when we
Yeah,
first started too, that protein will keep you hungry longer. Protein, we know protein's really good for us,
yeah,
and I was then going back to those skills that you and I talked about
yeah,
and found myself doing it, and I was like, yay, I feel better.
yeah,
I The weight is coming off faster, like just wins all around.
yeah,
So I even went back to those things that I know, and because like I said, I know what you should do, but
yes.
it's like I'm actually doing it
You're
now.
actually doing it, right, yeah. Like,
Yes,
that's what it makes it's like the meds set you up to be able to practice that
yes,
stuff, right, in
yes,
a way that that your brain really did not allow you, that your biology did not allow you to
correct.
do before, and I
Mhm.
think, like, at the very beginning, right, you talked about feeling like not wanting people to know and feeling like I had failed or I need help or why can't I do this on my own? And I think that's one of the number one things out there that people talk about is the fear, the stigma. Like there's right now, I feel like there's almost like a stigma if you're on it and a stigma like if
I-
you're not kind of thing, right? People are
100.
like, why aren't you if you have obesity, you have overweight, why aren't you on Ozempic? And people are like, oh, you're on that? Like you didn't try hard enough, right?
Yeah,
It's like a fucking no-win situation, which is
that's
ridiculous,
110%. And
right?
like I said in the beginning, I didn't want anybody to know
Yeah.
for those, like, I didn't want to be a failure, weak, the list goes on.
Mhm.
Now, someone's like, "Oh, Nicole, you look great. What are you doing?" I'm like, "Up the shot," and I do
Yep.
a little like
Yeah.
joke because I don't care. I This has changed my life for the positive.
Yeah.
And one thing if you know me, because of my history growing up and being a bigger girl, like it's the last thing I want my daughter to go through.
Mhm.
So what this shot has done for me, I don't want to get emotional, but I'm running around with my daughter. She's seeing me be active instead of me having a hard time getting off the couch and out of bed.
Mhm.
So I will sing through from the roof that I'm on Zepbound. I don't care who knows. It still was a journey and still is one for me.
Yeah.
Um, but it has really done so much for me that I will tell anybody, and hence why we're doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I will say, my friend, um, had told me about you, and it was
Mhm.
at one of my birthday parties. And she said she started working with you, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try everything.
Mhm.
um and she was like, listen to her podcast.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I don't really listen to podcasts, but okay. So I'm driving home from work, and I put your podcast on, and I was listening to it, and I was getting emotional because I was like, I wish that could be me one day, like in my this journey, this weight loss journey I've been on for, call it, 30 something years.
Mhm.
I just wish I could be someone that like told their story and had success, because I
Mhm.
have success and then it goes right back, like
Mhm.
every single time.
Mhm.
And when you asked me, I was so emotional. I was like, "You want to talk to me?"
I didn't even know that you had listened to the podcast at any point, so it wasn't like, "Oh, I know this is Nicole's dream, I'm gonna ask her." I was just like, "No, can you come on and talk about this to help other people?" Right? And really help them
I
understand what this is like.
And had you asked me in the beginning, I'd be like, no, I don't want
Yeah.
anybody to know. But like,
Yeah.
because of the work that we've done together, how I, feel 59 pounds, almost at
Mhm.
60, the most I've ever lost. I just, I, there's no shame.
What are some of the like you just mentioned, like, being able to run around with your
Yes.
daughter and be active with her, like, whenever she wants. What are some of the other kind of quality of life changes and shifts that you have noticed that you felt that you're able to do that you've wanted to do?
I wouldn't. There's a lot of things that I wouldn't do.
Mhm.
One big thing that I'm like really excited to be able to say I can do
Mhm.
is we grew up skiing,
Mhm.
and I would, my family some still ski, and friends, and it's like, oh, do you want to go? And I'm like, oh my god, I literally would Google, what's the weight limit for going on a
Sit chairlift.
chairlift. How much can skis hold? And because my fear,
Mhm.
like fear really stopped me from doing a lot. And I needed that to stop, especially not only for me, but for my daughter to see.
Mhm.
So we're going away in February. I have booked a lesson. I got to go get my skis, but I'm like, you know what? If someone, and I'd be so scared what they're going to look at me and be like, why is she doing that? Like,
Mhm.
she's too big for that. Those type of things. I'm like, yeah, look at me and I'll show you. Look what I can do.
Look
I
what I
might
can
be smart
do.
as anything, and if I'm one and done, I did it. I
Yeah.
did it. Remy, I did it for myself. Remy saw me go ski. My mommy skied too. That is the biggest that win. I mean, even little things of, fear, like going to the beach with the family. Like, it was, it's the walk down the thing in the sand and bringing all the stuff and be like, oh, I don't want lazy. I wouldn't want to do it. Now I'm
Mhm,
like, are we going to the beach? Like, let's go to the beach. I'm carrying
mhm,
all the stuff. Like, I,
mhm,
I don't have that fear if someone's going to look at me and judge me. I
mhm.
just feel so much better and in my own skin, and it's changed my mindset of like, let them judge me, let
Let
them,
them judge me. Right,
because
let them.
I'm doing something that makes me feel good that I haven't been able to do,
Yeah.
and I was holding myself back.
I think that's such, like, an interesting perspective flip where previously it would be like, "Oh my god, someone's gonna look at me on skis and think,
Yes,
what is that woman doing on
yes,
skis?" And now you're like, "Yeah, watch me go on skis."
yeah,
Right? Because I think it's, you know, you've lost 60 pounds and also you're still in a bigger body,
yeah,
right?
yep,
So I think that's like helpful reference for people to understand that, right? That Nicole's not sitting here, you know, in a size 2 or a size 4
yeah,
or like a culturally small body, right? This is I'm speaking totally objectively here,
yes,
right? So I think that's why that context is really important when you say that, like, yeah, I'm gonna go skiing now, and it's like, yeah, fucking watch me go ski
yes,
now.
exactly,
And that's like we spend so much time not doing things for fear of what other people are going to think and how they're going to judge us. And now it's like you're like, yeah, let me set an example for you actually.
hmm
And it's like almost like flipping that judgment around like on its head.
and I got another one for you. We went away, our first like big family trip, to the Dominican, to Cap Cana and Dominican, and there was like a water park in part of our hotel,
Mhm,
and there were these huge, huge slides. I Old Nicole would
mhm,
have never. I'd be like, "Am I gonna fit in the slide?" Like, I don't even want to. Probably would fit in the slide, but
mhm.
my head,
Brain told
I'm
you that
like,
you wouldn't.
I,
Yeah.
I- and I can't even risk being embarrassed. I don't want anybody to look. They're gonna look at me. They're gonna judge me. Um, I got on that slide, me, Rich, and Remy, and we went down. And I was laughing the whole time. And I got to the bottom. And I'm like, I never would have done that 4 months ago.
Mhm,
Um, another thing with when we go to a restaurant, I would tell my husband, they're looking at me, they're staring at me.
mhm.
Like my mind, like they may have, and they could have been saying, oh, wow, look at her beautiful hair, or she's a pretty girl.
Yep.
I went straight to, it's about my weight.
Yes.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
The dogs are doing their own podcast.
I want to just, let me just get that from him.
Okay.
Um, so with with all those things, I don't remember the last time I said it to my husband, like, oh, they're looking at me because
Mhm,
they're judging me.
mhm,
It might go to, oh, they like what I'm wearing, or one of the positive things.
mhm,
So this has changed not only how I look, and
mhm,
like I do have a lot more to lose, but I'm confident that I can get there, and
mhm,
I'm living a good lifestyle getting there.
mhm. Right,
You know?
you're not waiting until you have gotten to, like, your quote unquote "goal weight" or you have lost all the weight, right?
Yeah.
You are living the life that you wanna be living in the body that you're in
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
um, which, like, doesn't fit what society tells us, "Well, this is what you need to look like, and this is, like,
Yeah.
all these things."
Yes.
And I think there's a lot around some of these medications and, like, like, kind of extreme drastic weight loss, and it's like people go from, you know, looking one way to looking like such like a drastically different way and looking very much in line with, like being thin, right? Being small and being thin and like truly like being existing in a small body. And
Yeah.
that's not what it's about.
No.
That's where things start to get, I think, murky, very murky with this. And I think that's why your experience is so valuable for so many people because it's you are living your life along the way.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's something that is missing for a lot of people who are relying on these drugs to just get them into a teeny tiny body.
Yes. I honestly, I don't, I think I've said this to you before. I don't think I will ever, like I said, I'm 5'10". I
Mhm,
am big bone girl at
mhm,
that Canyon Ranch. They did my
mhm,
muscle mass. I have more muscle than most men.
mhm.
Like I physically, I would be emaciated and
Yeah,
sick if I got to be a teeny tiny
right.
somebody.
Yeah,
And I don't want that and I don't need that. I
yeah.
want to feel good in my body,
Mhm,
be able to do the activities that I want to with my family,
mhm.
and be a role model for my daughter.
Yeah,
I really,
yeah,
I just want to look and feel good in my clothes,
yeah,
be healthy.
yeah. So, speaking of, I would love to talk to you about that, in, like, the body image side of
Yes.
things, right? Like, how what role losing weight has played in how you feel about you look and how did I say that right? And how you feel about how you look. Um, yeah, so just what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I wake up every morning. I got up today and I like jump out of bed. Like
Mhm,
I physically feel great.
mhm,
I am wearing, I do still think I have that mindset that I look like even when it goes to like go online or and order clothes or something, I still go to order the bigger things.
mhm,
Um and like when I go in my closet and try on clothes that I wore last year and I'm like swimming in them, I'm
mhm.
like, "Oh my god." And like it's a sense of, "No, Nicole, like I feel like I sometimes look and I'm like I'm not saying this right.
It's okay. Do a do-over.
Ask the question again.
So, when you what role or how what has been the relationship for you between losing weight
Mhm.
and how you feel about how your body looks?
Um I'm proud of how I look right
Mhm,
now.
mhm,
Yes, there's still areas that I'm not happy with,
mhm,
that I want to still continue to work on,
mhm,
but, like, when I'm getting ready in the morning or at night after I look and I'm like, "Oh, wow," like, I can see the change in myself,
mhm,
and what really makes me realize, like, the body image, I don't know something clicked where I'm like, "Nicole, you're doing a great job. Concentrate on how you feel,"
mhm,
like,
mhm,
I do, and when I put on clothes, I'm like, "Ooh, wow, this looks so much better," or, "I can wear this."
mhm,
But, like, I feel like a huge thing is that I am noticing, this is working.
mhm.
It's a journey still, and
Mhm.
I just have to I'm not doing this question very well.
No, you totally are. I think what I'm hearing is that it's like it's a both and. It's like, yes, losing weight has made it easier to get dressed.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And I do feel differently in certain clothes, but it's not just that. It's
No.
also like you said, you're like, I wake up in the morning and I jump out of bed because
Yeah.
that's how good I feel in my body. Right?
Yeah, even going for walks. Like I used to, if a friend wanted to get together, they'd be like, we'd go, "Oh yeah, let's go for lunch or something, or a
Mhm,
drink or whatever."
mhm.
And I've said to a few of my friends, I'm like, "Well, instead of that, like, let's go for a walk." Like,
Yeah.
because I physically, like, I was at a point where I have Achilles tendonitis,
Mhm,
and walking was painful. Like,
mhm,
I and I'm like, it definitely was probably because I was overweight.
mhm.
Now, like, my whole body just feels better. I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go for a walk." Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was running around with the puppy the other day. That wouldn't have even crossed my mind.
Yeah. I think, like, it's just as just we've been talking for the last 40 minutes, right, organically, you innately keep coming back to how you're feeling in your body. Like, yes, we've talked about and I've specifically asked you because because so many people believe that when I lose weight, I will like how I look. I will it'll be always easier to get dressed. I will like everything I put on. I will like every photo I take of myself. And right, if you're listening to this, you don't see Nicole right now, but she is shaking her head. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. Right. And like that's just not fucking true.
No.
Right. Like Nicole has lost 60 pounds, which is, I don't even know like what percentage of your body weight it is, but
Yeah.
like it's not, that's not the thing that makes it all okay. And I think the reason you keep coming back to like, I'm going for walks and I'm playing with Remy and I'm running on the beach and I'm going skiing and I'm doing all these things is because that's actually the thing that has changed the most
Yes,
for you.
it's not. You're right. It's not me with clothes. I'm still struggle. I still have a struggle with that of
Mhm.
finding things that make me feel good, and
Yeah.
I'm coming to realize after talking and
Mhm.
everything that like let's put that on. I'll get there.
Mhm.
Let's think about what Nicole is feeling great about, and it's exactly those things.
Yeah.
When I put on my leggings and a shirt and I look in the mirror and I'm like, yeah, no, you totally have lost weight, Nicole. Like
Mhm.
that is a reminder, but
Yeah.
that hasn't fully come to just yet.
Yeah.
It's more of how I feel,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is very, very important.
Right. But it's like we get so caught up like
Yes.
culturally. Yes, like especially when a doctor's like, you need to lose weight, you need to lose weight, or you know, it's it is about how we feel in our bodies, but it's so much driven by the aesthetic piece of it and what you look like at the end of that weight loss.
Hmm.
And I think especially around these medications, there's an assumption and a belief that you take them, you lose the weight, and then you quote unquote like look great, everything fits, you can go and buy whatever you want, you take pictures of yourself, you automatically love how you look. And you and I have had countless
Yes.
conversations around, and there have been times where you have sent me messages and been like, "I got in so many more pictures than I would have
Yes.
before."
Yep.
And I'm doing this and it feels good. And then there have been so many other times where it's been like, I saw pictures of myself and I
I
was
couldn't
like,
believe it.
I haven't lost any. I look the
Yeah.
same. I look terrible. I don't know what to do. Right. Like,
Couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm 50, 60 pounds. And why am it's like I thought I looked a different way, but
mhm,
you know what? Maybe it's just a bad angle, like
yeah,
a bad picture. Because then there's countless others that I'm like, ooh, yay, look at it. Look, yeah, I definitely lost weight.
yeah,
But that has been a mind, it has messed a little bit where I'm like, did I lose weight? And then
yeah.
I go and try on one of those outfits that was from last year, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I did."
I did. I
So,
can fact check it.
still a learning thing I'm working on and
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
reality.
yeah. Our brains like to tell us a lot of stories and a
Yes.
lot of stories that are not true. And it takes work to like fact check it.
Mhm. Yes.
And to
That's
like
what
really
you taught
validate.
me, fact check it, Nicole. And when I try on that other outfit and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I definitely lost weight."
Yeah,
Proof.
there you go. That's your fact checking. Um, is there anything else that you feel like you would want to share, like for someone out there who is thinking about a medication or has been on one and has struggled, or I don't know, just anything that you would like to put out into the universe for people?
Um, like I said, I've been on almost every single diet, way
Mhm,
of eating, lifestyle, everything. Um, if you're questioning, oh, should I or should I not do this? Like, am I weak? Is this me giving, not giving up, but being weak and caving in?
mhm,
Do it, because you could be like me and in a year from now be in a totally different mental space, different sizes, weight class, whatever. It just take the leap of faith, because it has drastically changed my life and the people around me life. I'm a happier Nicole,
mhm,
um, and my health. Like, yes, looking and all these things, but when it comes down to it, health is such an important thing, and I
mhm,
want to be here for my family, specifically my daughter, for
mhm,
so long. I would take, if even if people did judge, I would take that all again and do it hand, in no hesitation, to take Zepbound, because it's changed my life. It really, really has. So take that leap of faith, try it. It will be a journey, but it's a good one, and you're happy in the end.
Good. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing so much and being so candid and just being you because you're the
Thank
best.
you. Oh, thank you. You're the best.